Okay, so today we are starting a new series, and that is reviewing your submissions. So, if you are recording your metal stuff at home and you're struggling to achieve certain tones, you're struggling with your mixes, you're struggling to get your demo sounding good, you can send this to me alongside with the descriptions of your challenges, and then I'll do my best to review it for you and help you the best way I can. Today is a trial run. I'm going to look into a few submissions of you guys, but in the future I aim to include this into my YouTube memberships. So if you're interested in receiving such sort of feedback, consider subscribing, please. And let's get on to it. I'm excited to see if I can help you guys today. Hey, I'm Dr. Mike Trubetskov, and I'm here to bring valuable information on metal production, recording and mixing. So mate, like and subscribe to help the algorithm push it to your friends. Let's go. All right, I have organized everything into this Logic project. We have 4 submissions and one is on Spotify, which I cannot download. And let's just sequentially get through this. The first one is by Thelmo Rego, and he says, I would love for you to tear my mix that I'm currently working on for my band apart. The things that's challenging me on this mix are vocal level against the instruments, EQing the guitars to get more clarity, getting the drums to sound their best without any samples. Okay, so now let's take a listen. Let's pause here for a second. So first thing first that immediately jumps on me, that these guitars sound quite rather harsh, and they would mask that top 3 to 4 to 5K area and prevent other things from being present enough from jumping out to the listener, and that may create problems. Plus they just sound a little bit harsh and a little bit muddy as well. So let me quickly grab a Pro Q3 here, set it to side mode because the guitars hopefully are on the side. Maybe even here. So this region here, 3 to 4K, to me sounds really harsh. So if we drop it down and then bring back the other area of presence, that would be somewhere around 8K. And then this is your muddy, boomy area as well. So it became significantly smoother straight away. I don't like how it fits the mix now, but I do not have access to the separate guitar signal, obviously, so I cannot manipulate it in a proper way. However, these areas here could be looked at and improved upon in order to get the guitar sit in the mix better. Drums, to me, sound pretty good. I don't find them that concerning in this mix.
Trying to fill the void. These visions in my mind of endless suffering.
drums sound pretty good and pretty balanced. Maybe snare could use a little bit more extra top and snap with a high shelf. Not too much of it, it depends on what you're after. And the kick sounds a little bit too clicky in a artificial way. Maybe it is compressed with an attack that is a bit too fast. So maybe if you open up your attack, if you're using SSL compressor, maybe try 10 milliseconds instead of 1 millisecond or 3 milliseconds. Maybe if you open up it a little bit, it becomes a bit smoother and a bit less sort of artificial sounding. But otherwise they sound quite decent. So I would work on these guitars as a first starting point because they mask things up and they sound harsh. Drums, you can carve them around then, and with vocals, let's see what happens. Vocals sound a little bit nasally in 1K area. I don't think that they're necessarily sitting bad in this mix, but I think if they are EQ'd a bit better and this sort of mid-range area is cleaned up, and the top end
All these battles are called greatness. Not an easy task to achieve. All these bridges.
see if I add that 8K to vocals, I mean to the whole mix obviously because I don't have access to vocals, but they become brighter and sit a bit better, they sound a bit more open without being too harsh. So you could try using those sort of corrections. I hope that this helps, and we have to move on to the next submissions. Cheers. Submission 2 by David, who says, I never seem to find that polished sound. Maybe a compressor issue or something. It is not a complete song yet, and there is no vocals, but I'm trying to make a template. I also struggle with the guitar sounding too close to the ears, too direct. And this is Currents. So what I'm hearing straight away is some harshness at 7 to 7.5K, and that can be attributed to digital sort of processing, no smoothing of those transients by analog or analog modeling plugins, and this causes a bit of a build-up at 7.5K, and that sounds a bit harsh, mainly with drums, and that is throwing me off a little bit, and that doesn't give the polish. Now the guitars... do sound a little bit too close in the lower higher mid area, which is 2.5 to 3K here. That brings them up close to the listener, maybe too close. So this sounds a little bit better. If you clean up 230 a little bit for those guitars, if you take that presence area a little bit down and then clean up the harshness at 7.5K with the drums, it starts to come together a little bit better. Another thing you could try is adding reverb to those guitars. I like using Bricasti small or large wooden room for the guitars, and obviously I cannot put it into guitars in isolation here, but let's see how this works. See how it adds a little bit of smoothness, a little bit of depth if you use just a super small amount of it. That's something that could put the guitars a bit better in the mix, and maybe for the drums as well you could add some more different type of reverb. Experiment with it, find what you like. Finally, with the compression. It could be compressed a little bit more. We try our SSL. Here's the trick that I like using lately. I've been shown this. Fastest attack, fastest release, 4-to-1 on the mix bus with a high pass filter all the way up. Sounds more polished straight away. So in this case, 0.3 millisecond attack, 0.3 second release, 4-to-1, high pass all the way up. This is very important because if you don't, it craps up. But now it sounds open and polished. So these things could solve these issues for you. Next submission by Micah. Having some troubles with this track in particular with rumbling double kicks. No room for bass guitar in the mix, always just muddiest things. Was having trouble balancing the cymbals until watching one of your videos and found your tips helped. Pretty happy with the song in general, but it certainly needs work to get it ready for the release. Sure, let's listen to this fragment here. Okay, so this makes, sorry to say that, but it sounds a little bit worse than the other submissions. One of the main reasons is I feel like this guitar is just a mono guitar sitting in the center, and that obviously interferes with your bass and with your drums. You need to record your guitar twice, separately, and pan it hard, left and right. That will give more room for your drums and bass straight away. Another thing is, your bass compressor is creeping up quite a lot on this song, and you can, if you want to, compress your mix hard. That's fine, but you need to use that method that I showed you right before with the filter all the way up, or almost all the way up, so that it does not react to your kicks and your kicks come through with the low end. Now, there may be an equalization issue with the kicks. It's a little bit hard to say in this mix because it is so compressed and limited. Let me see a bit more here. Yeah, see, there is no side material for that. These guitars could be cleaned up in the lower mid region, and the kicks, you could take that 170 area and add more of a lower sub region. But the core fix for this mix would be doing the guitar properly and making it wide and stereo rather than narrow and mono. It will help you a lot. Hope this helps. Submission under the name Nameless by Malachi. My biggest problem is that I feel like my music doesn't hit as hard as I want it to. I'm actually pretty satisfied with the performances on this track, MIDI, but I feel like it just doesn't hit as hard as similar mixes I've heard, even though the volume seems pretty appropriate. Okay, let's see.
I'm nameless, I'm faceless, I'm falling through the depths of
Just one thing, when you step it back, cross my eyes and you're not there. Said you create me, but you didn't even know me. You couldn't even take yourself. I'm nameless, I'm faceless, I'm calling.
So, again, this is interesting. There is a pattern in those submissions here. I'm hearing a lot of problems with the harsh guitars in this mix. This area. I can also hear that those guitars somehow sit both on sides and in the center, and I would highly recommend, for clarity of your mix, getting those guitars away from the center. It doesn't help for them to be there because they interfere with everything else. The low end is rumbly and problematic. And again, mainly with those guitars, maybe a little bit with the bass. So this has to be taken under control. And then there is the lower mid area, which has a build-up of frequency. And now your bus compressor or limiter reacts to that build-up of frequencies, causing the sound to not be clear, to lose clarity and just sound unclean. So I think these are the key things for this mix for you to consider to improve upon. These are very important considerations here. And now finally we have the Spotify submissions by Medik, who says, getting vocals to be smoother, less harsh and sitting more in the pocket of the mix. Let's check this out. So, unfortunately I cannot hunt for frequencies here because I cannot download the track from Spotify. To me this doesn't sound too bad. It sounds rather balanced, but the harshness for vocals probably comes from one of the resonant frequencies which I'm hearing somewhere between 2 and 5 kilohertz. I cannot be more precise right now. I need to hear it and use the EQ to find it. And the other thing is, vocals sound harsh because the guitars are harsh and they mask each other. So if you do take the guitars under control with that scoop, as I was showing before, under 3 to 5 to 4K area, it immediately leaves more room for vocals to come through. And that's 4K is a harsh area anyways. But if the balance is more prominent in the mix, vocals would come through a bit better within that range as well. You can try maybe taking that 2K down a little bit, finding that resonance frequency and notch it down significantly, narrowly, and then maybe add some top end like 7 to 10K, whether you can find it being suitable for those vocals. I think these are the things that can help you quite a bit with this mix. Alright, so this concludes our first round of submissions for this type of content. Please let me know if you find this helpful and if you enjoy this sort of content, and if you want to submit it, please consider becoming a member of my YouTube channel. I will leave the link in bio. And until next time, happy holidays and cheers!